Hello, I am Mike Geringer, the Senior Director of Research and Quality at Mentor at our national office. It's a real honor to be with you today for this congressional briefing, talking about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is the needs of young people navigating our foster care system, exiting out of that system, and how mentoring relationships and mentoring programs can really support their thriving. I do have some visual materials to pull up for you and share with you today, so let me pull that up, and then I really want to talk about what research says about this important topic. So I think where I'd like to start today is by talking about what the research says around the effectiveness of mentoring for youth in foster care and kind of what we know our programs for these young people can achieve, both for them at kind of at a systems policy level. But I want to start by grounding our conversation in some quotes from young people. This actually comes from a research study of youth in the foster care system, talking about the value that their mentors added to their lives as they navigated this kind of chaotic experience that they had been thrust into, all the ups and downs of navigating that from placement to placement. And then what you'll see here from these quotes is they really talked a lot about the ways in which mentors kind of pushed them to be better in spite of their circumstances, to overcome the challenges in front of them, and really offered a consistent and reliable sounding board. It was an adult, often not a paid adult. They had plenty of those in their lives, but an adult that was there just to provide them with care and support and to walk alongside them on this difficult journey. I won't read these quotes here, but you will see a number of themes that I think are important. The unconditional love that and support that a mentor provides, the consistency of being there when all the other adults in a young person's life may be coming and going. I think it's important to ground these conversations in the lived experience of young people that have benefited from mentoring to date. And these quotes, I think, really sum up a lot of what mentors provided these young people. But given that my role is to talk about research, I think there's a number of things I want to highlight from the mentoring research about what we know about mentoring youth in foster care. There's obviously plenty that suggests mentors can be a stable presence in the lives of these young people, especially as they are moving around within that system. As I mentioned before, this is often a person with no professional obligation, and so they are there in a different capacity. They're not being paid to care about you and to be an asset to you. This is just human to human love and caring and support, and kids pick up on that crucial detail. Mentors can also normalize the experience of being in care, especially mentors who have been in the foster care system themselves when they were younger. And as we know, mentors can provide all kinds of instrumental and hands-on support as youth navigate challenges. So there's a bunch of theoretical reasons around why mentors are a good asset for young people in foster care, but certainly research bears that out. So we know broadly that mentoring works. There's been a number of meta-analyses that have really shown that mentoring can support any youth with a wide variety of needs, everything from psychosocial support to academic support to career exploration and skill building. You name it. Mentoring seems to be a very malleable and flexible form of supporting young people. We also know from research that mentoring seems to be most impactful for those who need it most. And certainly, I think children that have been thrust into the child welfare system certainly qualify as needing this type of caring adult support or near peer support the most. What I think we know broadly from mentoring research, and here I'm synthesizing some great work that was done on our OJJDP-funded National Mentoring Resource Center. We did a big literature search and synthesis that found that mentoring for youth in foster care can really support benefits around their mental health, their educational functioning and attainment, things like substance misuse, improved peer relationships, better life satisfaction. These young people are healthier and happier because they have mentors in their lives. There are also system level benefits, right? These young people, if they have a mentor, it can reduce the number of placements they have, the amount of moving around within the system. They often tend to be emancipated or released from care earlier than youth who don't have the support of a mentor. And then, as we know, as they transition out of care, there's a number of studies that have found that mentoring can reduce their involvement in the justice system, welfare systems, and other supports from a social safety net perspective. So getting these young people transitioned out on a healthy trajectory saves the country money in a lot of ways and a lot of aspects of the care that they may need. So what do these programs look like in action when they're done well? I think some general things around emerging best practices, as I mentioned before, the consistency of the match is paramount. They do not need another adult who ghosts them and leaves them in a lurch. They've had plenty of other adults that have unfortunately done that. We also know that the use of highly trained student mentors or even professional mentors can be a real asset here. These young people bring a lot of different needs. Your average garden variety volunteer may struggle to meet some of those needs. So heavy training for these mentors, I think, is a must, but also combining these programmatic supports with other clinical or skill building supports, right? So you'll often see mentors in a supportive accountability role where they're providing emotional support and guidance, but maybe a clinician is handling mental health needs. Those can be powerful in combination. Certainly, we know from research that adherence to quality standards of practice for mentoring generally tend to support longer and stronger relationships for kids that are in foster care. So running a quality mentoring program in and of itself can help lead to a better experience for these young people. And I'll show an example in a minute of a coordination with the child welfare system in a program that actually I think produces some win-wins for the system itself. One example, as I just mentioned, is a program out in Colorado called Fostering Healthy Futures. This is a program for adolescents and teenagers that have been placed into child welfare system. They combine clinical supports with one-on-one and kind of a family group style mentoring. When youth come into the system, the staff of this program does a pretty thorough clinical trauma assessment. That informs the work of caseworkers. It sometimes even informs the work of law enforcement that are investigating abuse in these cases. But it helps all of those systems better care for each individual young person because they get kind of a unique assessment of where their needs are at. Multiple random control trials of this program have found reduced mental health and trauma symptoms, fewer placement changes, and reduced placement in residential treatment. Those are both things that save the system money in the long run. The RCT of the teen version of the program found that youth with a mentor were 7 times more likely to attain permanency, meaning that they were no longer moving around in the system and all the costs associated with that. So really strong outcomes from this program. As just one other example, there's a program out from my neck of the woods out in the Northwest called My Life. It was also called Take Charge in a different iteration. Once again, multiple random control trials finding improved mental health, life satisfaction, better use of transition services. This was a program for those aging out of care, better post-secondary planning and attainment. But then also they found a lot better reductions in criminal justice. So they followed up 2-3 years later when these young people were young adults and found greatly reduced incarceration and arrest rates, things of that nature. A cost-benefit analysis basically showed that the program essentially pays for itself by keeping just a small handful of mentees out of jail. Just a couple of days avoiding incarceration pretty much covers the costs of this program. And so the benefits, as you can imagine, only accrue financially from there. So what does it take to do this work well? Well, really, there's 3 or 4 keys that I really want the congressional committee here to really think about. One is sufficient resources. These kids bring a lot of needs to the table. They often need more intensive and more clinically connected mentoring services, and that just takes money, more money than you would think in an average garden variety mentoring program that's just kind of serving everybody. This is specified work, and it's intensive work, and we need resources for that. We also need, as I mentioned, those skilled and stable mentors. We cannot have mentors that are letting these young people down and giving them yet another failed adult relationship. That won't lead to good outcomes. And really empowering young people here in these programs and giving them some agency, some self-determination, some autonomy, some direction for their lives. They are often craving an opportunity to work with an adult to set a path for themselves. And I think that might be the ultimate gift that these mentoring programs give young people in foster care. So I hope that quick tour through the research was helpful to your conversation and your discussion today at this briefing. Even though I'm not with you in person, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have via email, or my colleagues from Mentor can answer them there in the room. But certainly, I encourage you to invest heavily in this mentoring. It is really needed for these young people. And I think out of all the young people served in the nation's mentoring programs, this group of young people might be the ones that benefit the most from these stable, caring, loving adults from their community. So I appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of your briefing.